This movie will look at the handrails tool in Architect Australia and Landmark Australia 2008. The tool is in the Furniture Fixtures tool set, and this is the tool icon. Let's switch to a layer that has nothing on it, and then what I want to do is to add a favorite file of our handrails. The reason I want to do this is it's much easier to start with a predefined handrail that approximates what you might want to use than to start from scratch with the tool. And if you do this via the resource browser, adding a favorite file, then you'll get to the end result a lot more quickly. So to add a favorite file, we'll go to Files and choose Add New Favorite Files. Now you want to go to the Vectorworks 2008 folder, and on a Macintosh this is in the Applications folder. On a Windows computer it's in the Program Files directory. Once you're in the Vectorworks 2008 folder, you need to open the Libraries folder, and then you'll see OSCAD Tool Libraries, and if you expand that you'll see our handrails library there. So select that and click Open, and that will now be available in your favorites list down the bottom here. So let's choose that and expand the symbol plugin objects section, and you can see then here are the predefined handrails. Now I'm going to select a couple of these. What you need to do, whichever one you want to use, you just click and drag it into the drawing. But because I want to explain a few things, I'm actually going to do this with a few of them. Let's take that one, and maybe this one, and one that has glass in it, and maybe one of these ones that is a bit like a fence. Okay. Now normally the procedure would be that you choose the one you want, you then select it, and you go to the AEC menu, or in Landmark you go to the Landmark menu to AEC and set handrail defaults, and that will set this drawing up to start drawing handrails that are like this one here. But before we do that, I just want to look at the tool by exploring these few objects a little bit. And you see we've got four quite different styles here. This one is more of a fence, and let's just zoom in on that a little bit, and we'll render it in OpenGL just to have a look. So looking at this, obviously this handrail doesn't have a top rail, and you can see here that under handrail options under profile it's set to none, so there is no handrail on the top, and that way you can get the fence kind of looking object. If I did set this to rectangle, then there would be a handrail or capping put on the fence, so you could also do a fence with capping if you wanted to. Now there are various sections here for post, baluster, rail, and so on, and you can click the box here to expand the sections. And at the top there's typically the profile shape, so you can have a rectangle, round rectangle, or circle. And with posts you can choose to have it at the start, end, and you see the post switched ends, or you can have it at both, in which case you get a post at each end. And then there are typically other settings here with offsets and so on. If we look at the baluster options, and again you've got profile options here, and which side they get created on. You can see you can flip the side that these get created on in relation to the rails. The other thing you can do is to adjust the height of these. You'll notice that currently it says full height, but I can limit the top rail, limit it to the top rail. So if I do that, then the balusters will only go up to wherever the top rail is positioned. Or I can limit it to the bottom rail, or I can limit it to the top rail and the bottom rail. So you can get quite a variety of options here. If you look at rail options, you can see that we can set the size of the rail, the maximum opening width, and what this is going to do is just automatically add as many rails in here so that the gap between the bottom of one rail and the top of the rail below it isn't greater than 1000. So if I wanted to put more rails in here, I would just decrease this number. If I decrease that to 500, let's say 300, then you can see that I'm getting more rails here, and the distance between them is not going to exceed 300 millimeters. This way, this is how you can make sure that a handrail complies with the code. And then you've got the top offset, which is the distance from the top of the post to the rail, and you've got the bottom offset as well. And again, you can also adjust the length of these because there are different styles of handrails. So you can use the top rail, top and mid rails, or top, mid and bottom rails, and these are then getting adjusted to the length of the balusters. So let's just set that back to where it was. So there's quite a few settings that you can play with. Let's take a look at this object. This is actually designed to be have a glass panel, and you'll see under miscellaneous options there's an option here that says use panels, and typically when you're using panels it's going to put in a solid panel in here, and mostly that would be made from glass, and I'll show you how you can make that look like glass in a moment. You've also got the start and end miters here, so you can actually create a miter on the end of these, but when you use the handrail tool you'll see that those miters will automatically get created. And here you can also put a slope in to slope the whole thing. So if I put in a 10-degree slope, then the handrail will drop at one end. Let's then look at the next one along here. This is like a stainless steel wires and so on. So the profile is a circle, but if you wanted that to be an oval shape, for example, you would set the width to maybe 100 and you'll get an oval shape. The idea is to choose the one from the library that closest suits what you want, adjust the settings for what you want in your drawing, and then use the set handrail defaults command, then start drawing with the tool. If we look under rail options here, you'll see that one of the options with the rail is to use wire as well as the others, and this will just create a fine line there. And you've got the other options here, the maximum opening and the top and bottom offset. And the top and bottom offset allows you to do this kind of thing here, where you want to have an infill between, say, two rails, and so the offset will set this distance here and this distance here. And the posts, you notice, are overlapping. If you look under the post options, that there's a post extension there of 100. If I set that to 500, you'll see that the post will actually extend up beyond the top of the rail, so you could use this for veranda posts or something like that. Alright, so once you have got this set up, I'll just explain the class options too. Under here you'll see that there's a number of classes. Now, in the absence of any classes, if you choose a color from the object info palette, then that color will get used for everything in the handrail, which is in the handrail object, which is fine if everything is the same, if you just had the whole thing painted the same color, or it was all stainless steel or whatever. If you want to break it down into different components, then you can use class options. And in this document I have created 4 classes, one called glass, handrail, HR post and HR rail, and you set the class attributes for these as you would want them, and then you have to enter these class names in here. So if we look at the panel name I've used is HR Glass, so let's go HR Glass, and you'll see now that this has become invisible because it's actually using a glass texture that's been applied to this class. Let's just look at that class, and you can see here that under Other we have a texture called glass happening. Now if I wanted to also define something for the handrail, we've got a handrail, a class called HR Rail. So if I put HR Rail in here, then the rail is going to start using the attributes of the class that you put it in, and it won't use the attributes here. So what doesn't get, what you leave in the none class will get the attributes that have been applied from the attributes palette, and what elements that you class will then get the attributes of the class. Okay, so let's say this is the handrail that you want to then place in your drawing. So we select the one that we've set up, we then go to the AEC menu and we choose Set Handrail Defaults. It will ask us to confirm that. We go yes, and now we'll go to a top plan view and we'll take the tool, and you'll see that I can create a series of handrails. I'm drawing on the inside edge of the handrail here. That's where the line is being defined. And we've got a series of handrails that are going to match the one that we defined, which was that one there. And you can see that the corners are mitered correctly, and that the glass is appearing. And so that pretty well sums up how to use the handrail tool.